In this battle, we are facing ZanyXDD, and this is by far one of the strongest challengers I've faced in a while, and that could partly be because of the team setup they've got here. If you look at that, that is a full team of scary Pokemon, each of them problematic in their own ways. Those are like most of them, I think, except Weavile, are basically OU staples. So, I have reason to be scared here. So I let Vit Tangrowth here. I was thinking that he might go into Lopunny, and we actually ran one before this battle. I was actually trying to experiment with my teams. I didn't even know that this guy was gonna have a team like this. I went in, it was not good, and I had to come back and get my revenge. So I brought a bit more of an acceptable team, although I was kind of locked to some options because, of course, I have to use my Mega Beedrill, as I put a community poll down there, and I want to be true to that. So, that's that. But anyways, though, I have brought in a lot of new Pokemon that I think will really pair well with Beedrill, and at some point later, I do plan to bring in Magnezone. I just got to figure out how to use it effectively. So it is a good Pokemon. A lot of this requires the proper usage to actually be effective. So anyways, here I go into Tapu Fini on the Heatran because Tapu Fini can actually take its hits pretty good, and I can defog to shut down his entry hazard effects. And with Misty Surge, he can't Toxic me, and I can even go for Taunt if I predict the Stealth Rock, although it's a bit too risky for my liking, and I don't want to dish up too much damage from the Magma Storms because I don't actually have a way to heal other than True Leftovers. So anyways, here I go for a Taunt, and this is part of my setup because if this guy can only attack, he can only go for Scald because no other Toxapex runs anything but Scald, and my Heliolisk here has the ability Dry Skin, so it basically comes in for free. And now this guy is in a deadly position because he's going to be taunted, so he's probably going to want to switch out here, and I know exactly what he's going to want to switch into, which is his Glasgow, because he's probably going to be expecting a Volt Switch. And that's typically what most players will do because I know he's going to switch, so I'll go for Volt Switch so I can pivot out. But if they go into a ground type, that will shut that down completely. So here he goes for the withdraw and goes into Glasgow, and Glasgow is going to have to take in this Surf, which is pretty big damage right there. You got to consider how specially bulky a lot of these Glasgow sets can be. So I am pretty happy with that. And I'm going to follow up with a Surf because this is a choice specs hero list, so I can get the most output, because this is not meant to stay in. This is meant to come in, to attack, and to switch out, ideally with Wall Switch, but in this case we're doing Surf. So I just hope he doesn't have anything that's too good to check this, because the truth is he probably doesn't know yet that this is choice specs. I mean, if you look at Smogon, you could probably tell, although it's never a guarantee. You can't always predict what someone's running because I could have the Mystical Water, even though that's very unlikely. So anyways, I'm going to follow up with another Surf here, and he's going to take his time here, and it makes sense because this Heliolisk is scary, and you don't want to lose Glasgow this early in on the game because it's actually a really good Pokemon. So he goes into Weavile, and this is actually really scary for me. So I'm going to hit him with the Surf anyways, and it does reasonable damage, but Weavile does have actually pretty good special defense, a lot better than its physical defense, so it is able to take it in pretty good. And now it is tempting to switch out here, although I'm kind of expecting that he might go for a Pursuit. So I stay in, and he actually hits me with an Icicle Crash, which surprisingly is enough to one-shot my Heliolisk, and that is actually terrible for me. So I just lost my perfect counter to his Toxapex Glasgow Core. So this is not at all good. So anyways, I figured that Heatran would make a great switch here, because if he was able to one-shot my Heliolisk like that and not even take any recoil from Life Orb, that's definitely gotta be choice banded. So Heatran should be able to come in here for free because his Icicle or his Ice type attacks will do nothing to me. So anyways, I'm gonna fire off an Herb Hover, mainly because I'm thinking he might go into his Heatran because his Gliscor is already weakened by the Magma Storm. It is really a gamble here because, I mean, he could go into either. Although I'm hoping he goes into Heatran. Although unfortunately I get that one wrong. He goes into Gliscor and then he regenerates a lot more HP from the poison heal. And that whole switch in just went to waste because now I have to switch out. Heatran gets forced out by Gliscor's Earthquake. There's no way you want to stay in on that. Especially because Heatran can be so useful in games. So you don't want to just give it up trying to predict that he's going to go for an Earthquake unless you're 100% certain that, you know, they're going to expect you to switch out and go for something else. So anyways, here he goes for an Earthquake, so it's a great thing I switched out. Tangrowth can take that for days with no issues. In fact, Tangrowth really likes coming in on Gliscor for the most part. Most sets are not going to be running acrobatics, so you know, you can bring in Tangrowth for fun or for free, and you know, you even have Rock Tomb there to lower down its speed. And then in the future, I do intend on getting Hidden Power Ice. It's really difficult because of the nature of Pokemon Break Bronze IVs, because like for my Magnezone to get Hidden Power Fire, I had to keep experimenting, and it actually ended up being one of the Hidden Power Ground combinations that worked as a fire type. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's just how it is. Or maybe it's just this specific copy, but you know, it is what it is. So anyways, he hits me with a U-turn, which is an interesting move to see in Gliscor. It's the first time I've actually seen it. It's a good move to use. U-turn is one of my favorites, although I've never seen it on Gliscor. Although I think in this specific battle, it's actually going to be pretty ineffective against my team, because if he had something like Knockoff, he probably could have been more deadly against my Tangrowth. So anyways, here he goes into his Heatran, and the good thing is though that this is really low from previous damage, I guess, in this battle. I'm actually not entirely sure. I don't remember. I think it was probably Tapu Fini in Nature's Madness. So anyways, here we do have the knockoff, so this Heatran's lifespan is going to be limited now because, you know, he only has this much HP left and there's no way for him to recover anymore, especially because this team doesn't have a Wish Passer. So anyways, I'm going to hit him now with a Nature's Madness because I'm expecting him to switch out into Zapdos here, or Toxapex. Either one is fine, but you know, Nature's Madness is a move that does half damage no matter what Pokemon it is, and there's no Pokemon immune to it either from what I know, so it's going to be a great move just to get some big damage on basically anything that tries to switch in, that's bulky especially. So now of course I'm going to want to switch out from my Tapu Fini into Hippowdon because, you know, Zapdos is a really scary Pokemon, and truth be told, I was actually expecting it to go for a Volt Switch here to pivot out into something else, but you're going to see that he actually has a Z move, and not just any Z move. This is the Supersonic Sky Strike. First time I've seen this one, but this is actually deadly, does huge damage, brings my Hippowdon to red HP. And I mean, that is terrible, because if you take a look at my team, I really don't have any other counters to the Zapdos' attacks. I mean, Heatran could come in because it's specially defensive, although I do want to save that for later in the battle. Although, I mean, in this specific situation, I don't want to lose my Hippowdon just yet, so I figured I should bring it in. Now, you know, he goes for a Hurricane, which is really good in terms of power output and a chance to confuse, although it is a bit of a gamble because it has a 70% accuracy rate. So you can probably land it a lot of times, but it's not going to be a very consistent move, although a lot of players like this guy are willing to take the gamble here. So anyways, now I'm thinking I probably should switch out because he's going to go for a Volt Switch. I already know this guy is going to do it, and that's exactly what he does. So I get back some HP here, and now really all I'm going to pray for is that he misses his Hurricane, because that does have pretty low accuracy, and it's not really worth trying to switch out into anything else to take that in. Although unfortunately he does land it. I mean, it's more likely to land than it isn't, but you know, it is what it is. Although in the meantime though, we are picking up the chip damage from the Sandstorm, which is very little, although it is something, especially against a Pokemon as deadly as Zapdos. So anyways, I really wanted to go into Beedrill here, although thanks to the Gen 6 mechanic where you get your pre-mega evolution speed in the first turn, it's not going to be able to come in on this Zapdos, and that is a fatal problem because this would have been a really effective solution, because I could have just gone for a Poison Jab or a U-turn and stopped it from going for a Roost. Although anyways, I decided to just go into Heatran here, but I'm going to hit him with a Magma Storm. Just all out cover, because at this point I'm not trying to let him get his Glasker in without, taking a lot of damage. So he goes into Glasker as expected, and the Magma Storm does really good damage. If I predicted it the first time against the Weavile, that would have been a really, really good KO. Although, unfortunately I didn't. Now, I mean, the truth is, I do wish I could go for Protect here, because then I'd probably be able to stall him out with the Magma Storm damage. Although I don't have that with this Heatran. Instead, I'm running Taunt so I can effectively shut down Toxapex. So anyways, now I gotta figure out what I want to switch into, because he probably could go into a Roost, and it's tempting to go into Beedrill as I see this as a free switch in. However, I figured that Tangrowth is probably a better play. I'm going to remain patient with Beedrill because it is good, but I think I'm going to wait till I clear out a lot of the checks for it, so that when I can pull it out, it can actually be really deadly. So anyways, Tangrowth is back in. He goes for the Roost, unfortunately, but there's not much that can be done here. Although truth be told, I actually can't do too much to this Glasker either. But this is really my best bet against it. Tangrowth has a slight winning matchup, although it's not really a fun one, because we're going to be here together for a while until the Glasker eventually gets worn down. But the good thing about this grass typing is every time he goes for Roost, he loses his flying type. So once I bring him low enough, if he tries to Roost on a Giga Drain, he's going to take super effective damage, and it's going to be real nice. So I'm going to keep going for Rock Tomb here in case he switches out, and he goes into Heatran. So, truth be told, it is really tempting to just attack, because his speed is lowered, and it is a bit of a gamble. It really depends on the EV spread of Heatran. That's the scary thing. It's just crazy just how good Heatran actually is, because there's so many different viable sets. Now, typically, most people like to run the specially defensive sets, although this guy is actually running a lot more speed on his Heatran, and that was going to be a problem, because if he went for a Magma Storm right there, that probably would have been GG, and I would have lost Tangrowth. However, he actually goes for a Stout Rock. I think he was expecting me to switch out, and that's where I got lucky, because if he didn't do that, I would have definitely been screwed. So anyways, now he goes into Weavile, and I know for sure that Tapu Fini could probably actually just come into this. I do it earlier, except Pursuit is a problem. However, Tangrowth is not scared of Pursuit, because it has crazy good physical bulk, and this Weavile would take some pretty bad damage from the Rocky Helmet, which it probably does not want to take. So anyways, he hits me with the Icicle Crash, and it does really good damage. And now I'm just gonna go for I actually forgot. I'm pretty sure I went for the Nature's Madness. I missed that one. Although Tapu Fini is actually such a good Pokemon, I'm not gonna lie. Now, truth is, not all Pokemon Brick Bronze games will probably give you access to it, from what I know, but I know a lot of them have basically implemented most of the Tapus. Basically every single one of them that I know has Tapu Koko. A lot of them have the grass type one, Tapu Bulu, I'm pretty sure. And then I'm not sure about Fini and Lele, but they're coming in, so I figured it's probably time I pull it out. And I've always liked Tapu Fini, because back in the day I used to struggle with Charizard X, and Tapu Fini had such a good type combination against it. And I figured that today would be the day I try it out, mainly because it actually offers a lot with it. It even gets Haze, which is nice, although I did switch it out for Taunt in this battle so it can stall break effectively, especially against a Pokemon like this Toxapex. And we have Defog, of course, to shut down the entry hazards. So of course, I actually think I went for a Defog there. I missed that too as I was busy commentating. Although that's probably what I would have done, because he set it up at his Heatran, and once I defog that, that's the end of entry hazards for this battle. So anyways, now he goes for a Scald on my Tangrowth. The only problem is I don't have Heliolisk, so I can no longer bring it in for free on these Scalds. But it is what it is. It's not a big issue, although I do ideally want to avoid getting burned if I can help it. But while he's still in here, I figured I should hit him with a knockoff, especially if he tries to switch out, because a knockoff on anything, even that Weavile, can be really nice. So now I'm going to hit him with the Sleep Powder, because he's not really showing any signs of wanting to swap out. Although unfortunately, one thing I missed in this battle is that with the Misty Terrain, it helps me a lot, but I keep forgetting that I can't actually use my own status moves against the opponent. So maybe one thing I might try out in the future is swapping out the set I have on Tangrowth to the more popular Assault Vest set. Although I do really like the physically defensive one for its capabilities, because if you just get enough special defensive walls to support it, then it can basically be your go-to physical wall, especially for all the earthquake users in the tier like Glasker. So anyways, now he's just gonna keep going for Scald, and I definitely want to regenerate a lot of that HP back. So I decided to go into Tapu Fini here, which regenerates just as much HP with leftovers as it loses from the Scald. And it is tempting to go into Heatran because I could trap him in and start doing damage, although that's not really something you want to switch into. It's better for the Toxapex to switch into a Magma Storm, and then you actually just shut them down with Taunt and Herb Power while they're trapped in. So anyways, here I decided to switch out into Tangrowth. He goes into Zapdos, which is really bad because Zapdos is actually an absolutely destructive Pokemon, and I don't want to have to take in a Hurricane if I can help it because of how powerful Zapdos actually is. And the truth is, we can take in the Hurricanes, although now, because I don't have a ground type, he can go for Wall Switch freely, and he can basically pivot into whatever he wants to pivot into. And right here, he decides to go into Glasker on my Magma Storm. Now unfortunately, the Magma Storm misses. The only thing I can really hope for now is a critical hit if I really want to get some effective damage, although the miss is going to be really bad. And now I have no choice but to switch out. Tangrowth's the best choice. Tapu Fini would have been the other option. Beedrill is never going to want to have to come in, so now he takes advantage of that and actually goes into his Zapdos, which is too bad. I mean, really, if you really wanted to predict that, you could, although I didn't want to have to take that risk by losing Heatran when it could actually effectively come in on Zapdos. And in light of this move right here from this opponent, I realized that my only way to win now would be to go for the Dynamax, and this was the perfect timing because I know for sure that after Dynamax, Tangrowth can take in whatever Zapdos has to throw at it, and I'm going to fire off a max Rockfall on this guy because it's going to be super effective, and it should be enough to finish him off from what level of HP he's at right now. So he goes for the Hurricane. Luckily, he misses the attack. Actually, it's about time because he's been landing so many of them without any punishment. So now we set up the Sandstorm, which actually does not even help us in the slightest, but I don't really care. Now he goes into his Weavile, and this is going to be scary. However, I know for sure that Tangrowth's going to be able to take in its attacks because of how physically bulky this specific setup is. Even though Heliolisk got one-shotted by a neutral Icicle Crash, this Tangrowth is both to take in those hits. So he goes for his Dynamax here and hits me with a max Hailstorm, which is really hard hitting, especially if we consider my HP is doubled here. I hit him with a max Rockfall, which cancels out his hail, and it's going to do some more chip damage to him right here. So I could stay in and take in another hit, although I know for sure it's probably not worth losing my Tangrowth here, so I'm going to go into Heatran because I'm pretty sure he's going to go for another Ice type attack. Although now there's a Tangrowth glitched into the screen, it's kind of funny. And he goes for a struggle here. I'm not entirely sure how that happens. Sometimes there's like a bug with Choice Band. I've had that issue with Sizer a lot, and it happened to him right there. And the good thing is we are able to live it pretty nicely. So anyways, now it is actually tempting to switch out into Tangrowth, although I'm expecting him to expect me to expect him to go for an Ice Punch, and I figured that Heatran should actually be a good stay in here, and if he goes for Fake Out, it's fine because it shouldn't do too much damage that I can't recover from leftovers. So he goes for a Fake Out here, which does some pretty good damage. Truth is though, with Mega Lopunny and Fake Out, you can't really spam that when there are opponents that have Pokemon like Tangrowth around with Rocky Helmet. Basically, I just regenerate all that HP back up, and you're going to take chip damage, which you can't recover, and you don't really want to take too much damage on your offensive Pokemon because they can really come in handy in the late game. So anyways, now I figured I may as well switch out into Tangrowth in case he goes for like a high jump kick or return, because I know that Tangrowth should be able to take that in pretty good, especially because it can just regenerate all the HP back, and I want as much chip damage on this Lopunny so that when the time comes in, Heatran can go down here. It's gonna go down. It's not gonna live anymore, so I'm willing to sacrifice it. But now, because it's gone down, I can now bring in Beedrill for free because you don't want to switch this guy in. He does not want to switch in if he can help it. And what I'm going to do here first turn, of course, is to protect, because I need to ensure I get my speed. That's essential. And I know for sure that this guy probably doesn't want to have to switch out, because if he goes into Glasgow or Toxapex, then I can U-turn out. And this Lopunny is no longer going to be safe. It can deal damage, but once this Beedrill comes in, it's going to be forced out. So anyways, he goes for the return. We are going to protect ourselves. And now comes one of the most essential moments in this battle. Will Beedrill be able to one-shot this Lopunny? Now with adaptability and 150 attack, you would hope it can, although Poison Jab is a base 80 move. So anyways, I go for it, and luckily it is enough to take down the Lopunny. What a turn of events that is. Now we are in the advantage state with 3 Pokemon left, and he only has 2. However, that doesn't mean that we've won this battle just yet. He has Toxapex and Glasgow, which can't really do anything offensively. However, defensively, it's incredibly lethal core. So anyways, now I'm going to go into Tangrowth, because I know he can't punish that anymore. He only has Toxapex and Glasgow, and I know for sure that this guy doesn't have Toxic in this Glasgow, so Tangrowth comes in for free. So I'm going to fire off some Rock Tomes here. He's going to stay in, but ideally I want to try and see if I can lower his speed, because you know that's going to be nice. And I don't know, I probably shouldn't have just gone for Giga Drain at the start, but I decided now that I notice I'm starting to take some pretty bad damage, I should start going for Giga Drain. And I want to make sure that I'm careful with how I preserve this HP here, because even though it's tempting to switch into Tapu Fini to take one, Tapu Fini actually doesn't take these hits too well, and I really need that to take care of Toxapex. So luckily though, this Giga Drain actually does really good damage against the Glasgow. And he goes for an Earthquake here. I'm going to follow up with another Giga Drain. And at this point, we're basically regenerating as much as we're losing. So, you know, that's really good. And ideally, I want to try and waste his PP as much as I can, so I can, you know, have a good matchup. So, he's going to keep taking some hits here. He's going to go for another Earthquake. However, it's really not doing that much damage, especially in light of Giga Drain, which is giving me more and more HP each turn. And what I was hoping for was that when he gets low enough, right here, we got the critical hit, which was really nice. And he's going to have to go for a Roost. And when he goes for the Roost, he's going to take super effective damage because he loses his Flying type. And that's going to be really nice. And that's a downside of Roost too at that. So right here, he's going to take super effective damage, and we regenerate a ton of HP. So this Glasgow really does not want to be in here with this Tangrowth, because it's a losing matchup. He's not going to be able to do anything other than U-turn. So now I'm just going to keep firing Giga Drains, because you know, I know that this Glasgow doesn't want to take any more of it, and he's going to take some chip damage right there from the Rocky Helmet, which is going to be essential for its KO later on in the battle. So now he's going to switch out, of course, into his Toxapex, because that's his only Pokemon remaining. I don't know why it takes a bit longer than it should have, but you know, there he goes. He puts in the Toxapex. Giga Drain hits, although it's not going to do crazy damage because Toxapex is a really bulky Pokemon. Although the unfortunate thing is, with the absence of Heatran and Heliolisk, I no longer have an easy way to break this down. But we do have Tapu Fini, and this is something that might surprise people, but it actually has a winning matchup against Toxapex here, because all Toxapex can do is Scald, and that's not going to matter to this Tapu Fini, because I'm just going to regenerate all that the next turn, bit leftovers. And now, of course, I'm going to fire off a Taunt to shut down any attempts of healing. And if he tries to go into Glasgow, then, you know, his Glasgow won't be able to Roost. So that's going to be really nice. He's going to go for another Scald, and that's fine. So now that he's been taunted, I figured it's time to start hitting him with the Nature's Madness, because even a Pokemon as bulky as Toxapex is going to take the same damage as any Pokemon from it. So it's a really good move against stall Pokemon like this Toxapex right here, and his Scald isn't a problem. Luckily, he hasn't got the burn. That would actually be a horrible nuisance. But you know, if you ask, why don't you go into Tangrowth here and hit him with a Sleep Powder? Truth is, if he has Toxic, I don't want to have to, you know, bring it in and risk getting Toxic, because I know it has a guaranteed winning matchup against Glasgow. But with Toxic, it's not going to have a guaranteed winning matchup. So I need to preserve it and you know, be as careful as I can. So anyways, the taunt unfortunately wears off here. but I'm just gonna go for it again, because even if he goes into Glasker won't be able to heal. The only thing he's gonna get here is some recovery from his poison heal, which is not, you know, too big an issue. So anyways, now it is tempting to go for a Moonblast. However, I know he's definitely going to switch out. There's no way he's going to stay in, because he really can't do much in this matchup. So I'm going to go for the Nature's Madness, predicting the Toxapex, and that's exactly what he does. But he does regenerate some HP there, although not that much. So now, you know, I'm going to go for another Taunt, and that's going to be able to effectively shut down the Toxapex from going for a recover. And I was thinking he might expect me to go for a Moonblast, predicting the Glasker coming back in, but luckily I got that read right. So now it is tempting to go for a Moonblast or a Nature's Madness. This is really a gamble on what the opponent does. Although I decided to go for the Nature's Madness, which is the best move in that situation. He goes for a Scald, and you know, that's still not a big issue. So now I decided to go for a Moonblast, expecting the Glasker, and luckily I got that prediction correct, because he does go into Glasker, and if he didn't, it still would have been fine, because the Toxapex would probably die to 2 of those. So the Glasker is finally killed, and now all he's left to is Toxapex, and his only means of recovery is to recover. So with a taunt, that's going to be shut down, and you know, that's going to be real nice. So he goes for a Toxic. I'm pretty sure the Misty Terrain probably ran out here, so I do actually need to be careful with that one. But now I know that, you know, Tangrowth isn't going to be as essential anymore, because I mean, this guy basically lost all his Glasker, and Glasker was probably the best thing that could have broken through Tapu Fini. Now unfortunately he gets the burn here. I mean, actually, it took him a really long time. I kind of feel bad for him. He got lucky overall with his Hurricane accuracy, but his burn rate was really on the lacking end, which is a bit tragic. I was actually wondering, why didn't I get burned? Maybe it's because of the Misty Terrain. If you guys can answer that in the comments, I would appreciate it. I've never used Tapu Fini before, so I really don't know anything about it. So any advice or, you know, commentation would be appreciated. So anyways, I brought in Tangrowth, and that's primarily because I want to put this guy to sleep so I can finish him off with Giga Drain. And you know, that's my main game plan here. The lucky thing is I will have a PP advantage, because I have Beedrill and Tapu Fini and Tangrowth that has Regenerator, so I can definitely stall him out if I need to, although that's not really going to be the ideal move if I can help it. So anyways, the good thing is he does stay asleep that turn. If he woke up, that would have really sucked, but you know, he stays asleep, and I am able to finish him off with a Giga Drain. Yeah, so big shout out to this guy, one of the best opponents I faced, definitely the best team I faced, and yeah, that right there is GG.